Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Sounds. I'm here today to bring you another classic film review, and today's classic film review is 1989's Roadhouse, starring Patrick Swayze, Kelly Lynch, Sam Elliott, Ben Gazzara, Marshall Teague, Julia Michaels and Red West, and is directed by Rowdy Harrington. Now this is a film that I grew up on. Basically, it's one of those really cheesy 80s action films that honestly, after watching it, after just picking it up recently, hasn't aged particularly well, but it's still a huge amount of fun. This film focuses on Patrick Swayze's character Dalton, who is a legendary head doorman basically, and he is asked to go out to the Double Deuce and tidy this place up, clean it up. It's full of troublemakers. So he heads out there in the hope to clean up this bar. However, Ben Gazzara's character, Brad Wesley, is a business tycoon that is basically bleeding the town dry of all its money, and he's getting rich while everybody else is getting poor. And his character and Dalton's character clash heads. Right, so what are my thoughts on this film, Roadhouse? Well, I was myself personally a doorman many years ago in the 90s. I stopped working on the doors, I think it was about the year 2000, something like that. And for the era that I worked on the doors as a doorman, this was like most doormen's Bible. It was every doorman's favourite film. They all loved it. They all kept quoting lines from Patrick Swayze, like things like "Be nice until it's time to not be nice," and all this kind of stuff. It was a brilliant film, and it's one that is hugely entertaining with some great action sequences, mainly fighting sequences. Patrick Swayze makes a convincing fighter and a convincing martial artist. I'm not exactly sure if he was a trained martial artist. I think he did have some skills in those areas, but he was mainly trained as a dancer, I believe. So it certainly made his kicks and things seem much more realistic because he was very flexible. So the fight scenes in this thing are absolutely brilliant, and Sam Elliott, who plays Wade Garrett, an aging legendary doorman who comes out to help Patrick Swayze's character, is brilliant. He almost steals this film from right under Patrick Swayze. He's absolutely brilliant and really cool character that he plays in this film. And there's a lot of great characters in this film. That's what I think makes it quite a strong film. Kelly Lynch plays Doc and the love interest for Patrick Swayze in this film, and that's quite a nice relationship. How they get together is just a little bit unbelievable, and it all happens a little bit too fast. But there's great chemistry between the pair of them, and it works to a large degree. And I believe their relationship. And his nemesis, Dalton's nemesis, Jimmy, who is Brad Wesley's like number one hard man, played by Marshall Teague, is a really good nemesis for Dalton, and there's a really brilliant fight scene between them where they have a face-off of these two really skilled fighters. That's a highlight of the film. But many of the fighting scenes in this film are certainly highlights, I would suggest, and it really makes this film a really good fun watch. Now, it's probably a good decade since I've seen this film, and I picked it up recently in a charity shop to re-watch on DVD because it's not easy to get on Blu-ray. And I watched it with my wife, who's never seen Roadhouse. And after 15 minutes, she was kind of saying I'm struggling with this a little bit, and I think it was because of its age. It's set in the 80s. It doesn't portray women particularly well, this film. Quite a lot of times it portrays them as sex objects and things like that, and it's a little bit hard to take seriously at times, and there's those aspects of the film I don't think have aged particularly well. But once the action starts, and once the story starts kicking in, and once you start to get to know the characters and stuff, you kind of forgive this film a lot, and you do have to remind yourself that it's a film of its time, in a sense of it's an 80s film that certain aspects of it haven't particularly aged well. It does have some really good characters in it, this film. You can't help but really enjoy many of the characters here. And like I say, Sam Elliott's Wade Garrett is a real high point of the film. And Sam Elliott is just the epitome of cool anyway. And I personally think this is one of Patrick Swayze's strongest films. This was made after Dirty Dancing and just before Ghost, so it was in that period where his star was definitely massively rising. And it's a very strong 80s action film that works to some degree because there's a layer of comedy through this that really works and helps the film. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It does definitely have its tongue in its cheek, but Patrick Swayze plays it completely straight. He just does. He takes it very seriously and plays it completely straight. And there's only a couple of times where you can kind of sense there's a little glint in his eye, and there's an awareness of the line that he just said, how cheesy it is. But for the most part, he plays it straight, and it's most of the other characters, especially Sam Elliott's character and Ben Gazzara, who plays Brad Wesley, are just having a ball and treat it like a pantomime really, and just understand completely what it is. And it's a really cheesy, fun action film from the 80s. So I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's huge fun. I would probably have scored it much higher than this 20 years ago, when I was 20 years younger. But I do think there are certain aspects of it that haven't aged particularly well, but it's a hugely entertaining film. I think one of the highlights of Patrick Swayze's career, and one that you should certainly check out if you haven't seen it already. So that's my classic film review for Roadhouse. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and of course I'll see you back for more reviews on Screen Stars.